The tray hit the floor before Daniel did. Plates shattered, wine splashed across polished marble, and the dining room of Varelli's, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, fell into stunned silence. Daniel caught himself on one knee, heart pounding, eyes already searching for the damage. His first instinct wasn't embarrassment. It was fear. Fear of the manager's glare. Fear of losing a job he desperately needed. Fear of going home and explaining to his 8-year-old daughter why Christmas might be smaller this year. A sharp laugh cut through the silence. It wasn't nervous or apologetic. It was amused. Daniel looked up. The woman standing inches from him wore a tailored ivory suit and heels sharp enough to leave dents in the marble. Her dark hair was pulled back in a flawless knot. In her hand, she held a crystal glass of champagne, untouched, steady. Her eyes sparkled with mockery. "Oh my," she said loudly. "Is clumsiness a requirement to work here?" A few people chuckled. Others looked away, uncomfortable. Daniel's gaze dropped to the floor, to the broken plates, to the red wine bleeding into the white tablecloth like a spreading wound. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," he said quickly. "I didn't see clearly," she interrupted. "Maybe if you spent less time daydreaming and more time watching where you walk, this wouldn't happen." The manager rushed over, already sweating. "Ms. Kingsley, I apologize profusely. We'll handle this immediately." Daniel froze. "Ms. Kingsley, Evelyn Kingsley, CEO of Kingsley International. A billionaire, one of the most powerful women in the country." She waved the manager off dismissively, her eyes still locked on Daniel. "No need. I just find it fascinating how some people manage to fail at even the simplest tasks." Daniel stood slowly, hands clenched at his sides. He felt the heat rising in his chest, but he swallowed it down. He needed this job. He needed to pick up Lily from school in 2 hours. He needed groceries. "I'll clean this up," he said quietly. Evelyn tilted her head, studying him like a bug under glass. Then, as he stepped around her to grab a mop, she shifted her foot. It was subtle, calculated, her heel hooked behind his ankle. Daniel went down hard. This time, the silence was absolute. Gasps rippled through the room. Someone muttered, "Did she just?" Evelyn laughed, not a giggle, a full, unrestrained laugh. "Oh, for heaven's sake," she said. "Do you always throw yourself on the floor for attention?" Daniel pushed himself up slowly. His knee throbbed, his palms burned, but it was the humiliation that hurt most, the eyes on him, the smirks, the whispered judgments. The manager looked torn between panic and obedience. "Ms. Kingsley, are you all right?" "I'm perfectly fine," she said breezily. "But perhaps you should train your staff better. Or replace them." Daniel met her eyes then. And something in his expression changed. It wasn't anger the way people expected it, loud, explosive, messy. It was controlled, still, dangerous in its calm. Evelyn faltered for half a second, though she didn't know why. "We'll leave," Daniel said evenly, wiping his hands on his apron. "So I don't offend you further." The manager's eyes widened. "Daniel, wait," but Daniel was already untying his apron. He placed it neatly on a chair, then turned back to Evelyn. "I hope you enjoyed your dinner," he said. "And your laugh." Then he walked out. Evelyn scoffed. Good riddance. Yet as she sat back down, an odd restlessness crept in. The champagne suddenly tasted flat. The laughter around her table felt forced. She shook it off. People like him were insignificant. Replaceable. That was what she had always believed. 2 days later, Evelyn sat at the head of a glass-walled boardroom, tapping her pen impatiently. "Why, is the Redwood acquisition still not finalized?" she snapped. Her CFO shifted uncomfortably. "There's a complication." "I don't do complications. The majority shareholder refuses to sign." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Who is it?" The CFO swallowed. "Daniel Reed." The name hit her like a slap. "That's impossible," she said sharply. "Who?" "Daniel Reed," he repeated. "Former military contractor, quiet investor, holds 42% through a private trust." Evelyn's mind flashed back to the waiter. The calm eyes, the controlled voice. "No," she said slowly. "Show me." The screen lit up. There he was, clean-cut, suit tailored perfectly, standing in front of a defense manufacturing facility, shaking hands with senators. Articles scrolled beside his photo. Daniel Reed, founder of Reed Strategic Solutions. Estimated net worth, $1.8 billion. Single father, widower. Evelyn felt the blood drain from her face. That's him," she whispered. The room went quiet. "He has one condition," the CFO said carefully. "He wants a personal meeting." And he specifically requested you. For the first time in years, Evelyn Kingsley felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Fear. The next afternoon, she walked into a private conference room, and stopped. Daniel stood by the window, hands in his pockets, gazing out at the city. He turned as she entered. No apron, no bowed head, just authority. Ms. Kingsley, he said calmly. Please, have a seat. She did. I didn't recognize you, she began quickly. If I had known who you were. He raised a hand. That, he said softly, is exactly the problem. Evelyn swallowed. You laughed when I fell, he continued. You tripped me, not because you knew who I was, but because you thought I was no one. Silence stretched between them. My daughter was watching, he added quietly. She had come to surprise me at work. Evelyn's breath caught. She asked me that night why the lady was so mean, Daniel said. I didn't have an answer. Evelyn's voice trembled. I was wrong. Yes, he said simply. She straightened. What do you want? Daniel met her gaze. You'll issue a public apology. Not to me, to every service worker you've ever dismissed. You'll fund a scholarship program for hospitality staff and their families. And you'll step down as CEO. Her eyes widened. You can't be serious. I am, he said. Or the deal dies. Publicly. She stared at him, realizing something far worse than anger filled his eyes. Disappointment. Evelyn Kingsley had built her empire by knowing exactly who she could anger. She had never imagined how dangerous it was to anger someone who didn't need her at all. And this time, there was no laughter left.